Welcome. We are Neil,
Luke and Dave.
340-somethings reminiscing on the runners and riders of 90s guitar music.
We look at the bands who soundtracked our youth on both sides of the pond and interview some of our heroes from the bands that defined a generation.
You'll hear about the good, the bad and the ugly of 90s guitar music.
This podcast is Stupid and Contagious. All right, people, welcome to episode 91 of the Stupid and Contagious podcast. Now, unfortunately, someone in the Stupid and Contagious camp got some personal issues at the moment, so we haven't been able to record this week. But we didn't really want to just not put anything out. So now I could have recorded something on my own, but no one really wants to listen to me narrowing on for an hour. So what we've decided to do is we've decided to re-release one of our classic episodes. And the one we're going to go with this week is our episode with Roddy Bottum from Faith No More. Now, if you have listened to it before, just have a re-listen to it because it's probably been a while. And it's actually a really good one. When I went to listen back to it, I was a bit like a cringe because it was one of the first interviews we did. And we didn't really know what we were doing at the time. Well, we still don't really know what we're doing, but it was very new. But it stood up all right. Luke still had the questions sorted back then, like he does now. So I think it was a good interview. I think Roddy enjoyed it. Not sure if he was ridiculing us at some point, but that's all good. But yeah, no, it's definitely a good interview. So definitely worth having a listen to. And if you haven't heard it before, then even better. But yeah, it was quite a scoop at the time because back then when we started the podcast off, we didn't really know how many guests we were going to be able to get on. And Roddy Bottum was one of the first people that sort of replied and said, yeah, I'm up for it. We're like, fucking hell. So he's part of the reason why we decided the podcast was worth pursuing. So for that reason, we also think it's a good one to put out this week. So hopefully normal services will resume soon. But in the meantime, please do enjoy this one. If you are watching them, please do give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get involved in the comments. Let us know your favourite Faith No More tracks, albums, memories, gigs, all that sort of stuff. And if you are listening, please do rate and review us and share it with your friends so that they can find the podcast. Once again, my apologies, but I'm not that sorry because it does give us a chance to re-release this episode with the legend that is Roddy Bottum. Enjoy. Luke, for anyone who's listening and watching who doesn't know, give us a little bit of a rundown on the history of Faith No More.
Well, first of all, I mean, how would you even categorise what Faith No More sound like?
You can't.
Right? Well, we talk about this in the interview a little bit, right? I mean, they were like, I think they started off like an art rock kind of band, but then they were, you know, some saw them as a metal band. Were they a synth band? Were they a alternative indie band? Were they a rock? What were they, right?
Really hard to sort of narrow that down. Dave?
Rock first for me.
Rock first.
Then plus the other bits.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much in there, isn't there? Like we'll talk about it in the interview, but with Roddy's keyboards and all that sort of stuff, it's just it's a crazy mix. Anyway, tell us a bit more about them. All
right. Well, the origins go right back to 1979, unbelievably, which is a very, very long time ago. A different form of the band. Roddy joined that form of the band in 1981. Which again, very long time ago. They were called Faith No Man back then. He explains this in the interview. San Francisco, this is, so early 80s San Francisco. They became Faith No More in 1983, so a couple of years later. Again, we talk about in the interview about the idea of not having like a permanent singer. So they went for several months without having like a proper singer. Then very famously, Courtney Love was a singer for a few months.
Yes, indeed.
And then finally, sometime in 1983, they settled on Chuck Mosley as the kind of the permanent singer, and they settled down as a bit more of a established band around then. They released 2 albums with Chuck, We Care a Lot, which is kind of overlooked these days.
I mean, We Care Not and Introduce Yourself. They've got some same songs on, is that right? Or
well, We Care
totally
a Lot is on
different?
both. But
Right.
to be honest, though, I mean, if you listen to it, it's not really like a coherent album. It does seem like a very scrappy kind of put together set
Still
of things,
finding their sound, I guess.
Yeah. So it's kind of understandable that it's overlooked. So then Introduce Yourself came out in 1987 and gave them a couple of kind of semi-hit singles with a re-release of We Care a Lot. I didn't realise, but those two songs, We Care a Lot and Introduce Yourself, Roddy's got co-writing credits for the lyrics on those.
Oh, there we go. We didn't ask him about that, but yeah.
I didn't know until I looked into it a bit deeper. Yeah. Well, the classic lineup is basically Mike Bourdin on drums, Billy Ward on bass, Jim Martin on guitar, Roddy on keyboards, and then, first of all, Chuck Mosley on vocals, and then, of course, Mike Patton came in. So, which is where we are in the story. So, basically, Chuck got fired in 87, 88. Mike Patton joined super young, like 20, 21 years old, and made all the difference.
I mean, Chuck Mosley was also a great frontman, and I love his vocal as well, Chuck Mosley. I love that Introduce Yourself album. I think it's great. Totally different to the next one, but I still thought
exactly.
It's a really good album.
Same. It's interesting, like Roddy talks about it a little bit, but the idea of, replacing like a kind of a weird looking black guy with like this ridiculously good looking white boy, 20 years old, white boy, and then suddenly they became, super popular. I think there was definitely a connection in that,
I think that transition happened in between when they were recording the real thing. Is that right? I think that's what he says in the interview. So they were already, I think they were already recording the real thing when Chuck Mosley left and Mike Patton joined. And
I think they were getting some of the songs ready, but yeah. Real Thing came out in 89. Epic came out January 1990, and basically Faith No More just went massive after that. Big tours with Metallica, Guns N' Roses, which we'll talk about in a minute. When we saw them, so basically they're like a huge stadium rock band, and what they did is follow it up in 1992 with Angel Dust, which is like insane album, and basically self-sabotage himself.
It was a brave move. Paid off, but it was a brave move.
Well, it didn't, because I mean, I think like financially it didn't. They could have made another stadium rock record, but they didn't. They made like a weird, I don't even know what it is, like a weird art rocky thing.
One of the problems with that album is most of the songs you couldn't play on the radio.
Yeah. I mean, they were too weird. Yeah.
Well, weird and a bit of swearing in it. Yeah, it wasn't very radio friendly, a lot of it. Obviously, you had Midlife Crisis, which is a great song.
After that, they then turned around and followed it up with a cover of Easy, played completely straight, not trying to make it weird or anything, done completely straight, and had the biggest hit of their career.
It's a good cover, but it's not them, is it? It's definitely not anywhere near my favourite track from them.
What is your favourite track?
Epic, probably.
That's probably one of mine as well. I think I prefer the Real Thing album, to be fair.
Angel Dust is my favourite album. Although if I had to pick a favourite track, I'd probably go for Edge of the World, which is on the Real Thing. That's such a fucked up song. If you ever listen to it, if you listen to it, it's got like Roddy's got this like beautiful piano kind of thing going on, and it sounds like this kind of like waltzy kind of lounge number. But if you listen to the lyrics, it's about like a paedophile and shit like that. It's like a really fucked up song. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Hey little girl, would you like some candy? All that kind of stuff, man. It's like a fucked up song. But again, that's perfect. That's perfect Faith No More, right? That contradiction,
So we went to see them on.
I haven't finished the timeline, man. Are we?
Come on then.
No. What do you want to do? Do you want to? No, go on. Let's.
No, do the fucking
this will follow the time. No, this will follow the timeline if you talk about it now. Go on.
No, just do the fucking timeline.
Fucking hell. So they had a couple more albums after that, basically. With diminishing returns, basically King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. in 95, and an album called Album of the Year in 97. To be honest, I'd stopped listening by then. Although a lot of fans say King for a Day is a good record. I'm not particularly. I don't particularly agree. Roddy basically didn't have any input in those last couple of albums, and I think it probably shows.
Did he not?
Although by this time he was working on his new band Imperial Teen, and they were like an indie pop kind of band. Really good.
Yeah, I think the band, although Faith No More was still together, I think they'd have splintered off into their own projects as well, hadn't they? So
Mike Patton had been doing Mr. Bungle before he joined Faith No More. He'd been doing that since early, mid 80s. So Roddy had a band Imperial Teen. They're still going, I think. They've released like 6 albums since like 95. Really good, like indie kind of pop music focusing on queer themes, obviously, which a lot of people weren't doing at the time and still aren't doing now.
Yeah, if you think about it, that was sort of 30 years ago nearly, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And especially the whole kind of the scene was very kind of macho, right? For Roddy to even come out, well, he was never in the closet. It's just I heard him talk about it, and he said, I wasn't in the closet. No one talked about it. No one asked me.
Yeah, no one spoke about it. Yeah.
So he did. He spoke about it in like 93 in an article, and he didn't make a big deal of it. But yeah, he made it a big focus of Imperial Teen. So they broke up in 1998, basically, reformed in 2009 and played some festivals, had a comeback album in 2015, Soul Invictus, which is an amazing album, really good. Very sadly, Chuck Mosley died in 2017, aged only 57 years old. So yeah, that's where they're at. And Roddy, who's the main focus, he's just still doing like really interesting stuff. So he had a band, see this one behind me with the squares, that's a band called the Crickets, which I just discovered after we spoke to him, and this came out 2019. It's a collaboration with him and JD Sampson out of La Tigra, who I'm a massive fan of. They're like a feminist kind of electro group who I'm a massive fan of, with Kathleen Hanna. It's kind of post Bikini Kill group. 6 songs, just kind of like electro, like DIY electro kind of music. Really, for me, I really like it, but I like everything JD Sampson does anyway. So then he's got a band with his partner, Joey Holman, and that's called Man on Man. They've had 2 albums out.
They're good.
Both of them are really good. And the new album just came out last month. I picked it up. I think it's better than the first. Final track on it is it's got Jay Maskis playing guitar on it, and
fuck off.
What's the music? What's that album like?
Again, it's kind of like, I would call it like indie, electro indie. Like,
so he's still on the keyboards.
He's still on the keyboards, but there's quite a lot of guitar on it. Both albums really good, especially the new one. Really good. Yeah. That's Roddy. That's Faith No More.
So yeah, we saw them live, Wembley Stadium, June the 12th, 1992, I believe. It might have been the 13th, but around that time.
I think it's the 13th. I don't want to.
Could be the 13th.
Yeah,
I could be a day out. You're right. But it was.
Sounds
it was
right.
31 years ago. So, but yeah, so they supported Guns N' Roses. It's fucking good actually, because it was Guns N' Roses, Faith No More, and Soundgarden.
You'd never get that again. Those 3.
Well, especially not Soundgarden.
Why are they dead?
Well, not all of them.
The main guy is.
Is he? Oh no.
Yeah.
Recently, Dave, just pretty disrespectful.
He don't care.
I know he doesn't.
I'm not even sorry. Anyway, sorry, Neil.
That was a shame. Chris Cornell.
It was.
Great voice. Yeah, so we saw them supporting Guns N' Roses. I'd only really heard Epic, to be fair.
Oh, really? I was a massive Faith No More fan. They were like my number one favourite band for like 2 whole years.
That's a long time.
I know.
Band. Yeah. Good
gig-wise, but when they played, they were fucking brilliant. They were top of their game, I guess. Like Mike Patton was all over the stage, jumping on the speaker stacks.
I just remember, not speaker stacks. So what he did is he somehow managed to jump from the stage. Now they have like the big screen, and underneath the big screen there's like a platform, I guess, to stop for the light. I guess he somehow managed to jump from the stage onto that platform underneath the big screen, and he was kind of like banging on the screen and jumping around, and it was it's incredible.
Perhaps he did parkour as a hobby.
He might have invented it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it didn't exist back then.
I tell you what, if he didn't
invent parkour.
If he didn't do parkour as a hobby, he probably should. He'd be good at it, wouldn't he?
He obviously had no fear.
Maybe now he's a bit older, he might not take so many risks. You're right. He invented parkour at that gig.
Also, I mean, shout out to the Live at the Brixton Academy album. To me, it's my favourite live album. Brilliant. I'm not a fan of live albums in particular, but it's just incredible.
Isn't Mike Patton wearing some weird? Is he wearing? I'm sure he wears something weird in that.
Is it?
I'm sure he's wearing like cycling shorts or something.
That's Axl Rose, man. White cycling shorts.
Yeah, I know, but I thought Mike Patton might have done it.
The kilt is Axl Rose as well, isn't it?
Yeah, you're thinking of Axl. Mike wouldn't wear a kilt, man. He's like skater shorts and stuff like that, no?
I'm going to have a look. Hang on.
Okay.
Maybe you carry on. Like a jumper tied round his waist and it looked like a kilt.
Again, that's Axl tying the shirt around his waist. White cycling shorts, bandana.
No, but Dave's right on that one. He did it. Mike Patton did it as well when they did Rock in Rio, I think.
How about Brixton Academy? Was he wearing something weird?
I don't know. I'm just having a look. This probably isn't very good for people listening, is it?
That's all right, Dave. You talk more about Mike Parkour Patton.
Well, I do have, teasers because I wasn't in the interview, but it's a really good interview. And
thanks.
It's a fine line between a teaser and a spoiler, but for me, teasers.
I don't spoil it.
Well, I'm not going to spoil it. They're teasers.
Right. Okay.
I mean,
there's a fine line.
The interview, the big things, the interview clears up the.
Wait. We can talk about it after, no? I'm scared of what you're going to say. Go on.
Yeah, it's a team. You've got to get people, but it clears something important up.
I trust you.
Don't spoil it.
Oh, and the other thing is...
What? I didn't say the first thing. What's the first thing?
Well, the Bjork and the fish.
Okay.
It's probably the first time it's ever been sort of properly dealt with and cleared up.
You're right.
I guess so.
That's an exclusive. That's an exclusive.
Yeah.
And the other thing is always, it's pathetically nice to hear an American talk about English bands and affection for English music. And
it's good when they do that.
A recurring theme is Top of the Pops,
Yeah, they love it, don't they?
It's obvious how important that show was. And
I know.
Whoever cancelled it didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, who did fucking cancel it? Bring it back.
It's like cancelling the proms or something like that. Or
it's nothing like that.
The proms are shit. It's nothing like it.
Yeah.
But what I mean,
it's the opposite.
Posh people.
It's the FA Cup.
It's the opposite to cancelling the proms.
That's better.
All right. Here's Roddy Bottum, Faith No More. Enjoy.
Okay, so we're here with Roddy from Faith No More. Thanks so much for coming on. Basically, you seem really busy with Man on Man at the moment. How's that going?
It's going pretty good. We're sort of like gearing up for the sort of new chapter. We recorded a record last summer.
Yeah.
And the record's going to come out in June. So once you make that decision, the second record, yeah. So once you make that decision and sort of things start going like forward in that way, then it's just like all of these things that need to be done. So this week we just did sorry, I'm making oatmeal.
You carry on.
We did a video on Sunday that was really intense. We pretty much do everything on our own. So it's a lot of work for two guys to do, but we had like 50 people in a mosh pit.
Nice.
It was kind of an insane production. And then this week we're just sort of like, we have to do like press photos. It's like all these things have to happen,
Yeah.
But it's cool. I feel privileged that I get to like make music, with my boyfriend.
Yeah, right. That's great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've been writing about queer themes and things since Faith No More, really, right? Is that, especially Imperial Teen as well, was that always important to you to get that voice out there?
Back in the day when we started Imperial Teen, there weren't a lot of voices that were dealing with queer sort of like imagery or ideals or sort of themes. And It kind of feels like today, even more so than back then, there's sort of like reasons to sort of speak out and be loud and queer. But I don't know. When I grew up, it was sort of like, even starting Faith No More stuff, when we were kids, we were like, made a really big point of sort of making a splash and getting attention and sort of bumping against the grain, sort of. And I guess that's sort of my queerness, and where I go with that is sort of an extension of that. Like as a kid, like what I used to do for attention. Even with, you know, Faith No More, we were really loud and proud in our differences. And I've kind of always been that way. And I guess it got a little more politically motivated when we started doing it like in a queer sense with Imperial Teen, and now with Man on Man. It feels like there's a little bit more of a political stance, but
okay, so can you take us back to the beginnings of Faith No More? So it's early 80s, San Francisco, is that right?
Sure, yeah. I think we started in like I moved there in 1981. So probably 1982, 83. I think we started doing stuff.
I've got this kind of obsession with the concept of decades. You know, how they don't really start and end at the beginning of the decade. Do you think it's true that like the 80s didn't really get going until like 83, 84 when you were starting putting stuff out? Did you feel that?
Interesting. I think it's different for everybody, you know, like where people were at the beginning of the decade, the middle of the decade, at the end of the decade. Yeah, I don't know. Style stuff sort of came into the 80s. It feels like mid 80s. I don't know. 1981 was like a weird time for me. Like I graduated from from high school. I made that decision to move up to San Francisco. And for the first time, I was living by myself, living with friends, like sort of like, you know, winging it on my own. Like I didn't have any support, you know, really. I mean, I had support, but just like financially, I was on my own, and that was something new. And that sort of spawned a whole sort of like chapter in my life. That was the 80s for me. I don't know. It was a stylistic sort of thing in San Francisco at the same time too. Like stylistically, what was going on? Like it felt like scrappy punk rock had just sort of like peaked a little bit, and we were sort of segueing into like a new era of like what happens after that.
So how did Faith No More come about? Where did you meet the guys?
Billy and I were friends. We went to grammar school together. We've known each other since we were like 10 years old.
Right.
And we both moved to the Bay Area at the same time. Bay Area is like San Francisco and the East Bay. Billy went to Berkeley, and I went to San Francisco State. Yeah. And we both sort of like had, you know, moved up there and had, you know, our friend group and started going to shows together and doing stuff together. And then at one point, Billy was across the bay and he moved over to San Francisco, and we all got a place together. Billy, myself, maybe 3 other people in a big Victorian flat in San Francisco in the Mission. Nice. And in that flat, we sort of had a 4-track recorder, and we started to just record things, just bunch of us together. Just the concept of sort of recording things and having headphones and sharing the headphones and just adding things on top of other things. Like someone would lay down a drum track from a drum machine, and then we'd add like an electronic bass. We just started to collect different instruments and sort of like things in that way. And in that mix, Billy was sort of in Berkeley, and he had joined a band over there called that they called Faith No Man.
Okay.
He met Mike Gordon, the drummer over there, who was also going to Berkeley. He and Mike started playing with this guy, Mike Morris, who had started this band, Faith No Man, and with another keyboardist named Wade. And they started this band and wrote songs and stuff, and they were a band. The rest of us were super supportive of that band, and sort of like, they became a big part of what we were doing. And I don't know, maybe some months in, for some reason, Wade, that keyboard player, dropped out. He didn't want to do it anymore. So I stepped in as the keyboard player, and we started doing music together. And it was sort of like more sort of driven by that guy who started the band. And I think at one point, Billy and Mike Gordon and I kind of rebelled and said we didn't really want to follow that man's vision anymore, and we kind of wanted to just do our own thing, and we did. So we changed the name of the band to Faith No More and just started doing our own sort of conceptual shows.
I read something, I don't know if it's true or not. So I read that like your early shows, you didn't really have a singer, so you just sort of had a mic on stage and anyone could come up and sing, but that might just be bollocks. So I'm just
No, it's kind of close to what we did. We sort of like, I mean, it was a real point in which we had to sort of like separate ourselves from other bands who were doing, you know, shows. We wanted to prove, we had a lot to prove, like we were different. So we sort of set about like making our shows sort of like, we called them more events than just shows. And every show that we put on would be, we wanted to do, like the original intent was to write different songs, have a whole different performance sort of thing, and a whole different presentation for every show that we did. And that meant switching up singers every time. And
so there is some truth in that then.
Yeah, for sure. It was super audacious. Like, I don't know why, but we kind of figured like, I don't know, it was like, it's so ridiculous to think back on, but like, I mean, the singer to us meant that little that we would just like, it was like practically disposable, the singer, which is like, I mean, by any sort of like given sort of like concept with people who write music, it's like, yeah, the singer is kind of everything, you know?
That's true.
But we were just, yeah, we were ridiculous. We were like, yeah, it doesn't really matter, you know, whoever could just get up on stage and do whatever and sort of sing. And it wasn't really important to us. Thinking back on that and looking at what we were doing, that's a crazy concept, but that's what we did. So our first show, like this guy, Joe Pye, who was sort of in this band Papa Pies that Mike and Billy played with, and I played with a little bit. He came on stage and really just did some sort of ranting, really just shouting sort of vibe more than singing. And that was fine. We didn't really care what he did. We were sort of like, the direction was like, do whatever you want. We're just going to do these sort of loop things that we did. We sort of like would create these musical sort of riffs. And our intention was to just like create the super hypnotic sort of like thing on stage and just let the person who joined us as a vocalist just sort of do whatever they wanted over the top. And that was the first show. And then it kind of went on from there. Same, like, that's just what we did. Like every show we would, hold on.
Yeah, it's all good.
We would switch up singers and stuff. And sometimes guitar players too. We didn't really have a guitar player that we really liked.
Right.
So most like, we would like switch singers and guitar player for every show for the most part. And then sort of it got kind of regular.
Yeah, is that where because it also, I read in the same article, this is where you kind of met Chuck Mosley, is that right? He came up and sang a few songs.
Chuck, yeah. Billy was in a band with Chuck in high school. Billy had a band called The Animated, and Chuck was in that band. He was the singer, the keyboard player. So he kind of knew Chuck, and I knew Chuck a little bit, but not so well. Chuck came in way after, sort of like, we had done like probably, I don't know, I bet we did like, I don't know, a bunch of shows. We had existed like as a band for like probably like, I don't know, almost a year without Chuck.
Yeah.
And just doing different singers and stuff. And Chuck came in like about a year in. We kind of we're looking for someone regular.
Yeah.
And he joined.
Well, and famously Courtney Love was in it for a few months as well. Is that right?
Courtney was in it for some months. Yeah, she was awesome. She we kind of met her like kind of randomly. She was a friend of a friend. Our friend Deanne had come to a show, and we kind of had a following at that point. Like kids would come to our shows because there was like, it was a weird thing. It was really different. And I think she had come to a show. Yeah, she came to a show directly from, I think she had just gotten back to the States from Japan. I don't know what she was doing there, but she came to the show and pretty much just told us straight up she was going to be our singer. And we're like, oh, okay, let's try that.
How were those gigs? Good.
She was our singer for some months.
What were those shows like? She's quite sort of off the wall, right?
I don't know. Yeah, she's super great, super poetic, really good with words, super great with presentation. Like when we met her, she was wearing like a wedding dress at this scrappy, crazy, like weird punk rock club in San Francisco called the Mad. That's sort of an indication of like, I mean, she was sort of bold and attention grabbing and super great with words, wrote really great prose and poetics and lyrics for songs, and was super devoted. She did a great job. At the end of the day, I think it was sort of like our energy at the time was a real male energy. And I think that sort of took over like where we were and who we were and what we were putting out there. And also we were just in sort of this sort of stage of like switching things up constantly. So when Courtney joined singing with us, it was sort of, we had been switching singers every show. And she joined. And then it was sort of like, it was weird for us to like sort of establish any sort of regularity because we hadn't really been doing that. And I don't know, a lot of things came into play. But she was awesome.
Are there any recordings or footage of Courtney playing in the band? Or
I don't think so. There's a live thing that we did for some TV station, like a public access TV station, in which there's a lot of flowers on stage and candles and incense. That's what we were sort of all about at that point.
Nice.
Is it right that you kept in touch with her and you're still pretty good friends? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah. It's great. So I mean, as you said, you're the keyboard player. Apart from kind of pop bands, there weren't that many bands around at the time using keyboards in rock. Do you think that kind of helped set you apart from the other bands when you started to take off?
For sure. Yeah, good point. Yeah, it was a super fun role for me to be in. Like particularly in that style of music, it was like really heavy. Yeah. Like that came up all the time. We were like heavy. Like that was the sound that we were going for. Like Mike Borden's drumming is so intense.
It's
just like pummeling, like really, really heavy.
Yeah.
And he and Billy had a really intense relationship. Like their sort of rhythm section that they did was like really heavy. And it was always that. And what we went for, like every time we would write or record or just jam together, was just these hypnotic sort of like heavy rhythms and heavy like stances with like really simple guitar. That type of music as it existed back then, like, didn't generally have keyboards.
No.
So for me to come into the mix and add something on top, it was always sort of my goal to go for something like, pretty and angelic over that heavy.
Yeah, I was going to say that it adds a lightness to it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's a crazy place to go because like, comes from out of the blue and like it wasn't really done right. Even visually, to have like a keyboardist on stage was sort of like, what do you do? Like how do you play a keyboard and make it look cool? Because it always looks bad.
So how did you do it? What's the secret?
I think I just kind of rocked out like in a way that I've never seen people do. Like I was like really just like pretty visceral and moving around with my body in a way that like I'd never like I don't know, we were sort of doing this thing. We all had dreadlocks, so that was sort of part of the look. Like it was a lot of head banging and moving and sort of but like people didn't really do that back then. So it was sort of like unheard of, and it did help set us apart from the rest of like at least San Francisco at the time. Like the bands that we were sort of emulating were like Killing Joke and even like Joy Division or like early Cure, like dark sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Is that what you were listening to?
Yeah. We listened to a lot of like weird political sort of like hippie music too.
Yeah.
Like what?
I don't know. A whole bunch of shit. But it was like, it was a real advantage like going in and being a keyboard player. Because like I started off this conversation with like that's what I always sort of go for is like getting attention or sort of like setting myself apart from like what other people are doing in my field sort of. So it was an advantage to go into sort of like recording and playing and performing in a realm where like there weren't really keyboard players. So it was easy to set myself apart from like other people and set ourselves apart from other bands.
Were you never tempted to get the old, what they call the piano or
Guitar? Guitar, is that right?
Really good idea. I haven't done that.
You missed a trick there.
Hold on, I'm gonna fix my lighting a little bit.
Yeah, that's all right. No worries.
Yeah, we had like I think we used one time in a video, but I never really used it live.
It's quite hard, isn't it? You're looking down at it.
I think playing like this, yeah, it feels like maybe more like an accordion, sort of, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a different sort of like, you know, with the keyboard, you're like just down on it like that. But with a guitar, you suddenly have this horizontal vibe that you have to sort of like go with.
Yeah. So when did things start sort of taking off for the band? Like, were the shows always busy, or did they start getting busier? Or
I think when we started getting regular, particularly with Chuck, we had an agenda suddenly. And it just made sense. Like, okay, yeah, we would do some recording, and we did that. And with recording, like what I was talking about earlier with the man-on-man stuff, like you do a recording and just you have to sort of like get on board with like, okay, that means you've got to do a tour.
Yeah.
You got to take pictures to send out to sort of announce your tour. You have to write a bio that talks about the band and sort of like sets out a credo that you can send out to people. So there was a sense of regularity that sort of kicked in when we started with the regularity of like performing with Chuck and creating our first record. And we went on our first tour, and that sort of started everything.
Yeah. Was a lot of that self-financed, or did you get a record label fairly early on?
It was all self-financed, at least for the first, like, you know, I don't know, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years.
Oh, really?
3 or 4 years. Yeah. I mean, self-financed in that, like, yeah, we had to sort of, like when we did our first tour, we traveled around in this like 66 Dodge, I think, that we bought. Like, I don't even remember where that Dodge came from, but we scrapped our money together and we went out on tour, and we gave ourselves each, there was 5 of us, 6 of us in this little truck with a trailer, and we gave each other $10 a day to live.
Wow.
Which isn't very much, you know. Back then it was more than it is today, but like we'd have that, and then we'd get to the club, and there would be loaves of bread and peanut butter that we'd sort of like hoard and like stretch and make work.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times we'd just have like canceled shows, or like, you know, we'd run out of money, and we'd have to whittle down sort of our amount to like $4 a day or something like that for each of us.
Yeah.
But we did that for, you know, a long time. Then we'd come back from tour and have nothing. So yeah, I mean, self-financed for sure for a lot of years. It was a long time until anything made any money.
Yeah. Did you feel that you were building something when you were doing that? Did it feel like something was worth it at the time?
I mean, I think like at that age, it's super sort of, I mean, I was only focused on the sort of here and now. I wasn't really thinking a lot about building anything. And it always felt a little bit ridiculous that what we were doing would become popular.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say that I didn't believe in it, but I'm going to say I didn't really believe in it. I mean, I believed in what we were doing. I really loved like what we set out to do. And it was like super adventurous and provocative. I loved that about it, and weird and really different from like anything that other people were doing. And I loved that about it. Like we had a real sense of like surprise and sort of volatility and weirdness that just like was super different. And I was really proud of that. But in that same sort of like breath, I never thought that like general masses, like people could get on board with what we were doing. It just felt, it felt too weird. It's like, how could anyone like this? I loved it, but I'm a weirdo, and we were all weirdos. It just didn't make sense that other people would like it. So in terms of like goals and stuff, all I was kind of doing was sort of enjoying the here and now, honestly.
Yeah. So when Mike Patton joined, what was the impact of that?
It was more an impact of like losing Chuck for me. He was a really good friend at that point. So when we decided to part ways with him, it was just sort of like, it kind of was what had to happen. It was sort of limiting. Like it was limiting in terms of like what Chuck offered vocally. I love Chuck, you know.
I love those Chuck Mosley albums.
So special and so like different. Like, and he was part of like what I was talking about. He was like the ingredient that made it so weird. And he was just like this character and like so awesome and such a great presence.
Yeah.
So when we lost him, it was sort of deflating for me. It was like, oh my God, like what do we even do at this point? It didn't feel like there was a future, honestly. But then Mike came in, who is so adept and he's so sharp and so good with like, you know, he's such a great singer and he's such a good ear. And
but he was super young, right?
What's that?
He was super young at the time.
He was a lot younger than all of us, and that sort of set up a dynamic too. Also, the fact that he was from a small town, like up at the top of California.
Yeah. Eureka, is that right? If I remember right.
What's that?
Eureka, is that right? It's something like that. It's called something like that.
Think it's Arcadia. Arcadia is, but at the top of California. That was sort of part of it too. He came from like, he was like a young kid from a small town, and we all lived in San Francisco, and we've been touring and making music, and we had a little sort of a one up on him in terms of like life sort of like experiences and stuff.
Yeah.
But what he brought to the table was remarkable. Like we had these songs that we had been writing for a new record that like even Chuck had been sort of singing on or creating stuff for, and we just sort of wiped that all clean. And Mike came down for sort of I guess you would call it an audition or just to meet and sort of like see where things would go. And we recorded him just doing some singing stuff over these songs that we were creating for the new record, and it was like automatically it was like, whoa.
Yeah, he's got an insane range in his voice, hasn't he? He's got like,
insane range and just sort of like a songwriting sort of like vibe that we'd never had with Chuck. And all of a sudden it was like, whoa, this is really different. And it was exciting.
So that I guess that's when you were sort of putting Real Thing together, is it? Around that sort of time.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Real Thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
when did you first go over to the UK? Because I think you're always more popular in the UK than you were in America. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, UK was like way more embracing than the US was. We went over there with Chuck initially. I guess we recorded like, The Real Thing is actually our third record. We recorded a record We Care a Lot for more.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and then the second
above
record
my
was
head.
Introduce Yourself. Yeah, that second one, Introduce Yourself. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's when we went to the UK for the first time. And sort of, it's I don't know, it was like way quicker to sort of reach people in the UK. It seems like a smaller sort of like geographical region.
Yeah.
And also like kids like really treat music seriously there. That's what we found, which I'd never seen before. Like we were that of that ilk. Like we we were so into music.
Yeah.
But it's kind of rare in America, you know. I mean, we didn't have like generally I always sort of compared to Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, you know, the UK had at that point, and it was like, you know, there were weird things on Top of the Pops.
Yeah,
it wasn't just pop music. It was like, just like, obscure stuff. And it was a massive
and everyone
show.
watched it. Literally everyone watched it.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah, like
16 million viewers. Or
Yeah.
Crazy. I remember Nirvana.
That seemed to make a difference.
Yeah.
Like people were sort of adept at sort of like embracing new songs, new flavors, new themes, new ideas, way more so than America.
That's interesting.
So in that sense, we went to England and toured, and it was like immediately we had like this sort of like family of kids that got what we were doing, who would sort of travel with us, who were so cool. I'm still friends with them today, but like they would like hitchhike and like pack their, packs and sort of like come on our tours. Like we didn't even, we just started to see these kids like, oh my God, weren't you guys in Leeds the other day? They're like, yeah, we're doing a tour. I was like, what? And kids would do like, I don't know, 6 or 7, 8 or 10 of them would do like the entire tour with us, even like our first shows. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and it was just like this sense of community that like exists in the UK then anyway. It didn't happen really in America in that way. And it was sort of like, catapulted us in my mindset about like what we did as a band and what we were to people. It was like, wow, like UK changed everything. Yeah.
Wow.
And also it was sort of like this sense of like, yeah, America didn't get it. Like we toured and toured and toured and toured. And, you know, people would come to the shows, but it was not at all like the UK or Europe.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah,
it was really cool. For a young band, it was so flattering. Like all of a sudden, it was like, oh my God, like these people get us.
Yeah.
So when did things sort of started going a bit crazy for you guys? Was it
Epic? Did that change everything?
I guess it was it?
I think so. Like it got really big in the UK and big in like Europe. And we would have like you know, sort of sizable family of people that would come and see us. And then we go back to America, and America was like sort of like didn't get it for a long time.
Still, even after that.
What's that?
Even after you released Epic, it still wasn't really sort of resonating the same in the US. Or?
I think Epic sort of changed everything, and that video changed everything. Like once sort of like America got on board with Epic, then everything changed. And then it sort of leveled out. Like we were super popular in the UK and EU and not in America. But then once MTV America started playing that Epic video, then it sort of balanced out. And then we're like, oh, we became like a lot more popular.
I was going to say, you were kind of the tail end of that whole MTV generation, right? The videos were still super important to break a band. Yeah, probably.
I think we were stuck. We were right in the middle of it. Like even after us, videos were so important.
Because I remember I've got that. Is it Video Croissant? Your little compilation.
Oh right.
I've got that on VHS somewhere. You made some great videos, right?
I got an important question about the Epic video. Is it true that the fish in the Epic video belonged to Björk?
No, I don't know how that ever started. I don't know what that rumor is about. I've seen that on the internet too. I don't really understand that.
I read it in a real book that was printed in pages. It's not true. It seemed utterly ridiculous. Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous. Why would Björk have a fish?
Why would Björk have a fish? Right?
Like her fish.
Oh, according to the story, she took it to a party at your house, and it was stolen.
My personal house.
She took a fish to your house.
That's what happened. Yes. Come on.
Right? Nothing. Like I was a fan of Sugar Cubes and Bjork, but the rest of the band, I don't think. Like it's funny. Like no one. Like I remember like playing debut on the tour bus, and everyone was like, no, and I was like, this is fucking magic.
Good record.
And no one else in the band was even like. It wasn't a Big No More thing. It was a Roddy thing.
I mean, she was
after the fish incident. They probably
she was a bit of a weird one herself, right? Still is,
I guess.
So that's not true then.
No truth.
No, disappointing. Okay, it's good to know though. It's good to know.
Yeah, a lot of those videos were. Was it still when you had like big budgets to make videos back then? I guess you were still.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like I can't remember what the actual figures were, like how much we would spend. But once we made the Epic video and it was as popular as it got, then it was sort of like, you know, whatever we wanted to spend, we could.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just more out of sort of like. It was convenience more than anything to like spend a lot of money. Like we'd have to just sort of like pinpoint a date in which we could make a video, and amidst the touring that we were doing and schedule wise, it was just like, we would make expensive videos, which is insane. Like now today, that's not done. Yeah. We made our Man on Man video for so cheap. We did it all by ourselves, and we borrowed a space and got extras to come for free and spent like zero money. But back then it was like,
it looks great.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on videos that were like incredible.
Did you enjoy that process?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was really fun. Like I went to film school when I was in San Francisco, so it was sort of like something that I had always paid attention to, and I like to watch the fruition of like things visually happen. At some point it became more of a sort of like just on the conveyor belt of the things that we were doing. We were touring. I have to make a video on this Saturday, and then Sunday play in Philadelphia or something like that. And it got to be sort of like a little more run of the mill, but in a perfect sort of setting to be able to collaborate with a filmmaker, a director, and talk about concepts and get like a look down. And what we were doing was, super rewarding. It's so fun. I love it now. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's definitely part of the process.
You were talking before about being weird, which you definitely were. I'm always interested also the fact that you seem to like appeal to lots of different kinds of groups, right? And be credible. So like the metal kids thought you were a metal band. We were kind of like indie grunge kids. We thought you were our band. You know, even people that just listened to the charts, they thought you were cool. How did you manage to do that and remain credible with everyone?
I'm not sure, like sort of we were credible with sort of the music with the metal people, I think really initially because Metallica sort of embraced us, you know? Our guitar player back then was Jim Martin was his name, the guy with the like long black hair and red glasses. And he was super good friends with the old bass player in Metallica, whose name was Cliff, who passed away. And even in our early shows when Jim joined the band and we would perform, like we've got this sort of like acceptance from Metallica. And then I think at one point, like James, the singer of Metallica, wore a Faith No More shirt like on the back of a record. And so it was like this instant credible
I've seen
sort
that
of
picture.
thing.
I've seen that picture.
I'm
saw it the other
check
day.
my
Actually.
Metallica record. Yeah.
It was like on that Garage Days record.
Yeah,
I remember.
But I don't know, so weird. Like that was another one of those instances where I was like, what? Why would these people like our music? Like I tended to like Metallica. It wasn't where I went like as a like a music like lover, but I could get on board with it. But it was just crazy to me like that these metal sort of people or like people in Metallica that they would like what we were doing. I don't know why. It was just a stretch. So, I don't really know. Like I would felt way more rooted in sort of like punk rock or weird like experimental stuff or like provocative sort of sound. And it was really surprising when sort of we got embraced by like metal people. And then that just sort of grew and grew and grew. I mean, we encouraged it. Intentionally or not. Like we went on a tour with like Guns N' Roses and Metallica. It's like, okay, so we were sort of establishing ourselves or like declaring in a super huge public forum that like we are that.
Aligning yourself.
Like, I didn't really like we did everything in our power on those tours to sort of separate ourselves and let everybody know that we were different. But it was a weird straddle, you know, like, I mean, I think a lot of kids turned on us when we lost Chuck and like, oh, they're kind of sellouts. They're more metal now. They're more, but I don't know. It was a lot. It's a complicated issue.
Oh, really? You mean like the art indie kids turned on you?
I feel like,
yeah.
There's a definite, I mean, there's a camp of people that were sort of like, you know, like, surprised by that decision and sort of like we're not behind us in that way, but that's kind of the magic of what the band was. It was super confusing. Like it was like even to me now looking back on it, it's like, what is this band? Like it's so weird. Like really the guys from Metallica like this band, but they have a keyboard player and they have like, you know, it was just sort of like it was a confusing band.
And everyone looks like they're in a different band.
Yeah, and it was like a lot of different things going on, and that's sort of what made it special too, you know.
Yeah.
We actually we saw you on the Guns N' Roses tour. That's where
that was a different tour, I think. Well, not the Guns N' Roses Metallica tour. It was
this was a 92. This was you were playing. It was you, Soundgarden, and Guns N' Roses. Wembley Stadium.
Wembley Stadium, the big one. I mean, how was it for us?
We were 15 years old. Before. I forgot.
Right. Yeah, you played there.
I played at Wembley Stadium before.
Yeah, you did.
I had no idea.
The old Wembley.
I forgot all about it. Like I had no idea. Sometimes I look at that, like I watch, like I don't know stuff I see, like in that Queen movie I saw like a while ago. I was like, oh my god, Wembley Stadium. I was like, I will never play there.
So you forgot. You forgot playing Wembley Stadium. That's amazing.
My god. Amazing.
It was a good gig though. It was a good gig.
For us, we were 15. We were massive Faith No More fans, and it was amazing. How were like those massive stadium shows for you? But did you
mean, like I just exhibited. I have no idea.
No idea. There you go.
No, I mean, like I do remember. It was sort of we were very into our stance of like proving who we weren't at the time, if that makes sense. Like we are not a metal band. We are not a sellout band that sort of like, is conventional or typical. And to the audience, we were a lot about like, you have no idea who we are or what we're doing. Like this second record we made with Mike Patton was called Angel Dust, and it was like such a weird record. It was very reactionary.
It's my favorite album.
Amazing album. It's
no, thanks. But that record was like all about like proving to the world what we weren't.
Yeah.
So the whole tour after that was like, very Guns N' Roses and Metallica, and we were like, we are not this.
Yeah, well, I remember.
So I remember like being on stage and like just throwing ourselves, being super physical.
Yeah,
and, like,
I was going to say, Mike Patton. I remember he was just all over everything. He was leaping all over the speakers and stuff, and it was crazy. But great.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, it must have looked exciting to young kids, I think, at the time.
It's amazing.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
But, you don't remember it, but we do. So
I do remember. I remember certain things. I remember taking like a microphone stand from my keyboard and just like smashing it on the stage.
Right. There you go.
Nice.
I don't know. Like I wasn't doing anything. I was just like, I remember just wanting to hurt myself on stage. I mean, it was kind of where I was at the time also, but like I remember just like, it was a real point to sort of like prove this sort of like we were going to out aggressive.
I think that came across because we were like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it was just getting smashed. And
I was scared for Mike's safety, man. He was,
it was proper,
right.
It was on top
jumped
of the
from the stage to like,
point.
like the big screen. There's like a thing underneath the screen, I guess, for the light. And he somehow managed to jump onto that, and it was kind of
that behavior was crazy.
Yeah.
It sort of spreads, us as a band. Like one person does something, and then we all just sort of like up the ante. Like Mike, in that era was very like very physically aggressive with like, and like so dangerous. Like that couldn't happen today.
No,
like I sort of remember him like jumping up onto like those big cranes that had the cameras in those arenas things, that would go like from, and he would jump up on the crane and like ride the crane, or like always jump in the audience, or we'd always jump in the audience, like just such crazy physical things.
Yeah. That's part of a live show, though. It was great to watch. I mean,
that's good,
incredible.
Yeah. Can we talk a bit about Angel Dust, which you mentioned before? Because I think it's my favorite album of Faith No More, and I just remember, like, was it deliberately like contrarian? It almost seemed to the point of like self-sabotage, where you're just doing completely what different to what your previous album was. Do you know what I mean? I remember the first day I got it home, the cassette home, and just press play, and it's like, maniacal laughing, and what the fuck is this? I mean, I love it, but what is it? I mean, how deliberate was that?
Super deliberate. I mean, we sort of like, I think with the record before The Real Thing, we had just got a lot of attention suddenly for sort of like being what we were. I mean, Mike is a really good looking young kid, at the time. I mean, he still is like a good looking man, but like when we started doing that, like it was the switch going from Chuck, who was super scrappy and like a person of color and like a mohawk and like older and crazy and kind of like a more gravelly, intense voice, to like sort of shifted gears to a younger white kid who sang really great and wrote sort of maybe more conventional sort of melody lines. So I think we got embraced as such, even in terms of like the look of the band had changed, and we were embraced by a community of people that were sort of maybe more prone to sort of like more orthodox or conventional sort of music form. So it was new, this whole like attention thing that we got. So then when we went in to make the next record, it was like kind of what I was talking about earlier. It was like more than anything, it was like, we're going to prove what we're not. We are not that. We are not about making money. We are not about
what we were 2 years ago.
We are not about convention, and we are not sellouts. And also just amongst ourselves, like we had established a rapport musically, And more than anything, we wanted to encourage that amongst ourselves. Like, kind of like, I think what we tried to do mostly was go like different sort of musical directions. That was really exciting to us. Like, we try like a weird, like sort of bluesy song. And I always was encouraging, let's do like a really super pop song. Like, that was really exciting for me. And let's do like a weird, like grindcore, like crazy noise song.
Yeah.
It was all about extremes and just sort of like, you know, challenging ourselves and challenging our audience, I think. But it was super intentional. We knew going into Angel Dust that we were going to try and create something that was different and abrasive and hard to swallow. And initially, people were like, like I remember the record company was like, what the fuck? Like, guys, I remember like it's a much coined phrase that one of the record company guys came and like listened to the songs, and he was like, I hope none of you bought houses. I'm like, what?
Well, the fans, we loved it. So fuck them, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, it was super adventurous and weird, and like people embraced it and like accepted it for what it was. So that was a super rewarding record to make. Go that far out on a limb, and to have it sort of like embraced in the way that it was. That was really rewarding.
Yeah. Also, I love the fact that when you did after that, you did follow it with the cover of Easy. Super smooth soul song, but you paired it with Be Aggressive about blowjobs and
right
stuff like that,
right?
Yeah. Again, was
like
that
that's what we did?
Yeah.
So obnoxious.
Was that a conscious decision? Because you knew
it
that
just
more
always
people
came
would
up.
be buying it?
We always had that in our milieu. Is like, you know, like let's do like a you know, like crazy, you know, Lionel Richie song or Commodore song. And like, you know, it was always like, that's the way that we operated. Like, that's the way we would sort of like present things in the most jarring sort of fashion we could.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, that was quite a big hit, wasn't it? As well, the Lionel Richie cover. It was in this country,
guess,
anyway.
Was it? The people
it was that? It was huge.
Yeah,
it was
big
like,
over here. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It was a fun video too. Like the video of that, we used like a lot of drag queens in the video, which sort of like felt like, you know, cheeky and provocative at the same time. That was really cool.
Yeah, remember it well. Yeah.
The band kind of came to an end late 90s, was it? It all sort of 2000s, it sort of fizzled out. Was that just a natural sort of end to an era?
I guess so, yeah. It was pretty natural.
Yeah.
I think people were like what I talked about before about people's aggression on stage. Like, it kind of spreads like wildfire. Like one person in the band, like Mike, always had Mr. Bungle that he was always doing.
Was there a resentment about that?
What's that?
Was there any resentment that he was kind of prioritizing it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's just a subtle sort of like, what are you doing? How committed are you to this when you have this other band?
Yeah.
But he had that other band, and sort of at one point, like sort of we reached a point in Faith No More where we had pretty much accomplished everything we wanted to do. And we could have continued down that road. And I don't know, at some point people had different projects. Like I had Imperial Teen I had started. And
that was already going by then, right?
Yeah. Well, I kind of wanted to like, I kind of like wanted to spend more time with that at the time. And Mike, I think, like, I don't know, like I said, it spread like wildfire. Like people then started having different ideas or, you know, it's just got really complicated. So in one sense, it sort of reached its natural sort of end of like what we were doing as a band. There was resentment and stuff and like fighting and like mistrust and stuff, but it was like sort of, I was set on the natural course of like, I mean, at that age when you're like, I don't know how old we were, in our 20s or 30s, whatever, like kind of late 20s or whatever, and making decisions that we had to make like with each other, like in that context, like all of us together, like every single day, like making decisions every step of the way.
It's quite intense,
of, like,
right?
musical decisions, creative decisions, business decisions. I mean, it is what it is. It's what we sort of built and stuff, but it's a lot to ask of kids at that age to sort of do for that long. Like, I don't know, we were together like maybe 15 years or something, and it's like, something like that was really taxing. And I think everyone kind of needed a break from that.
Yeah. And you took a break for 15 years or so, I guess.
A long time.
Yeah.
Like, I would have never thought we would have got together again. Like,
right. Well, Soul Invictus, it's a great, I mean, when it came out, I dutifully bought it because, as an old Faith No More fan, and it's just much better than it needs to be. It's just a great record.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, how was it to write together again and all of that?
It was kind of a lot easier than it had ever been, I think. After sort of like that long of a break and sort of the coming back together, it was really easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, you played Coachella, didn't you? Is that right?
We did, yeah.
Yeah,
that was our first. I think that was the first American show that we played after we sort of reformed and started doing shows.
Yeah.
Maybe we played some. I think we maybe played some San Francisco shows. I can't remember. But like Coachella was one of the first, big shows that we did in America.
It went down well, right? I saw it. I was watching it on YouTube earlier. It's a good crowd.
It was horrible.
I was.
It was the worst.
Why?
For me, anyway, like it was like Coachella. Like I lived at the time in Los Angeles, and I love Coachella. It's so fun. Like, I mean, like you guys get festivals in, England. We don't really do that in America, and we hadn't done that. So like, just the concept of a festival in America was something new.
Yeah.
Like there were festivals and stuff, but like few and far between. And Coachella was the first one that sort of put the festival sort of like spectrum on the map in America. And they did it really, really well. And I would always go with my sisters and my nieces and whatever, nephews. We would like go and like, it was a thing that I was really like into. We went every year to Coachella. It was so fun. You see a million bands, great festival. And then when Faith No More got like, oh my God, we're going to play Coachella. It was like, oh my God, it's so exciting. My family was there and everything. Like it was really high stakes. I think I had a problem with my keyboard on stage. Okay. Like it's a really quick turnaround on stage as it is with festivals, and I don't know, for whatever reason, my keyboard wasn't working and I had like sort of like technical difficulties. And we had this whole, like we were playing that song Ben by Michael Jackson.
I saw that. Didn't he go into the crowd for that? Didn't he? Mike went into the crowd.
Didn't he probably did. I mean, from an audience perspective, I'm sure the show was fine. It was just personally like in that song, like that was a big keyboard driven song and my keyboard wasn't working. It was just like a million things that didn't really.
How did you sort of think, hang on, why don't we do Ben by Michael Jackson? How did that come about?
That's just sort of where we go. Like someone will say, like, what I heard the other day? I was at the like bodega, or I was at the liquor store. You know what I heard? It was so good. It was like, like, yeah, Ben. Like, oh yeah, Ben is really good. We should try and cover that. That's where it always goes. Like the most extreme sort of weird, like I think we usually went for like a sense of drama in a presentation of a cover that we would do. But I don't know. That's how that we usually come. But for whatever reason, that didn't go down. I mean, it wasn't a great show for me. It was horrible.
Going back to the whole festival thing, then, so you really enjoyed playing the festivals in the UK, I guess, back in the day?
Yeah, so much so. Like you could see so many bands like at the festival.
Yeah.
Like David Bowie, Grace Jones, like, Pulp. Just like, like such a crazy mix of shit, like Tricky, like just at that time, Portishead, like every band that I loved, I could go and see and like just walk over there. Okay, at 3:30, like, whoever, like, so many. New Order is playing it, just like a crazy mix. Now, I mean, my sort of take on the now is maybe now it's changing a little bit, but like for the past 10 years, festivals have been a lot more sort of one flavor. I don't know. Glastonbury maybe is still sort of like all over the map.
I think you get a bit of different clientele these days because their festivals are more expensive, and it's a lot of sort of richer kids that sort of maybe aren't so much into the music but just want a good weekend.
Oh, really? Is that true?
A little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
which is.
I would hope to think that like people with not as much money could always get in, but I guess that's just like not the case. That's an entitled sort of like stance to take. Like, yeah, people just can't afford to like go.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to still get your diehard fans. It's just really hard to get tickets for UK festivals now. You've got to be like on the computer.
Right.
You've got like a 24-hour window with 100,000 other people trying to get the same ticket. So, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Glastonbury's still a great festival. I haven't been for years, but still looks.
I've never been to Glastonbury, but that's always the one. That one in near Barcelona. What's that one called?
Oh, what is that?
Primavera? No.
Oh,
Primavera. Yeah, that always looks like such a fun. Yeah, that looks like such a fun festival.
Didn't you guys play Download? Yeah. You played Download.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah. How was that?
I think we played Download. That was the first sort of like big reunion show that we played in the UK. And I had no idea at the time. Like when we talked about doing a reunion thing, I was like, oh yeah, okay, we'll do like, I don't know why I was thinking, but it was just for like, oh, we would do some clubs and stuff. Like, all right.
Download.
Faith No More were huge. They were a massive band.
There was literally 100,000 people.
Of course.
Like,
Faith No More, of course.
Yeah, huge band.
I didn't realize.
You didn't realize how big you were.
No.
That's great. Wow. Great. All right, we've kept you a really, really long time, so we're gonna let you go and finish your breakfast.
It's cool. Thanks for the chat, you guys.
Thank you so much. We'll let you go.
All right.
Back to your breakfast.
Enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks a lot.
See you later.
See you later. We'll let you know when it comes out.
That was Roddy Bottum in his dressing gown. Dave, any comments on the interview as you weren't in the interview itself?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And it was one of the first we did. But it was, what a person to have on it. How did you get him on, Neil?
Literally just emailed him and he said, yeah, all right. Don't ask.
It probably was the greatest moment of my life, to be honest. I can't think of a better one. Interviewing Roddy Bottum, man. Just amazing experience.
You both did really well because, you're obviously very excited to meet him, but I thought it was uncovered
the man's
some
a legend.
Things.
I just liked how casual it was.
Making his oatmeal in his dressing gown.
I just think that's obviously just the kind of guy he is.
Well, it's interesting, like you say, like legend. And the thing that I took away from it, he just seemed completely unaware of, first of all, like how huge Faith No More were and are, and how like revered they are. He didn't seem to be aware of it, which is, that's totally endearing, right?
Yeah, because like when we was talking about the comeback, and in his head he thought they'd be playing in front of like 20, 30 people in a club somewhere, but they played Download.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I think one of like we spoke about it in the interview is, and we spoke about it before the interview as well, is you just can't really pigeonhole them, can you?
Yeah, and I think that's what came out of the interview as well. Just like they were a really weird band. And it was 100%. Pretty mental that they became so big without compromising. It seemed having that contrarian nature throughout the whole process, and they still managed to become really big. That really came out in the interview, and I hadn't really considered it fully before, but they really were. They really were.
Yeah, well, the whole sort of, when they got together, the way they sort of found their singers in the early days, it's just like a karaoke thing, but with them playing and come up, sing, see how you get on. I mean, that's fucking mental, isn't it?
When you hear Roddy and meet Roddy, you think, I'm surprised at how heavy the band was. He seems more like someone that would have been in REM.
I don't ever like you saying that, but...
But aren't they, don't you think there's some parallels between them and REM?
Go on. I can't see it myself.
I don't know.
I think you're going down the art route, aren't you? Art band.
Yeah. Are they both more of an art pop, really?
I could be completely wrong about REM.
No, I think
from California, but
they're not from California. They're from Athens. They're from Georgia. They're completely wrong.
I mean, I personally hate all the early REM art shit.
Oh, mate, I'm glad you said that. I fucking detest every single early REM album up until Out of Time. Even Green.
They're one of the few bands where their early stuff that's supposed to be good is the shittest stuff.
Oh man, can I have a quick rant? Because I fucking detest them so much, and it really annoys me that people that people go on and on and on about how amazing they are. There's not a single note. There's not a single line. There's not a single memorable melody in all of those albums. They are all completely nothing. They might as well not exist. I've got them on vinyl. I've put them on the record player, and half an hour later, the thing's finished, and I haven't even noticed that anything's happened in my life. They are nothing. They don't exist. They are shit, and I hate them. And I hate everyone that claims they're good. Where were we?
They're on next week, aren't we? We've got the drummer.
Yeah.
I was going to try and get them on, you bastard. They might still come on.
They might do. Out of Time's a half decent album. Automatic for the People is
there you go.
Nearly perfect, right?
So what are you talking about?
Stuff. No.
Oh, you mean the early
I'm saying
stuff.
I like those. I'm talking about the early stuff on IRS records, which everyone thinks are better, and I think they're just awful. Not that they're not even awful. They're nothing. They don't exist.
Well, this is the thing. That's the reason everyone goes on about how they were together for ages before, like, Losing My Religion made them massive and stuff. And the reason that it took them so fucking long is because everything was so shit.
It was, again, it wasn't even shit. It was, I can't explain it. I can't explain how it doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? I try to listen and nothing goes in.
So it's not that it's not music. It's not even, it doesn't even exist to you.
Maybe it's like the 80s production values. I don't know what it is. I've tried to listen and it doesn't go into my brain. Maybe it's me. I'll hold my hand. Maybe it's me.
I'm with you on the early REM stuff. Man. Shit. But anyway, we digress.
We do. Anyone else on the interview? Dave, any more comments?
Yeah, I need to ask, I've got to ask ChatGPT what I should say. And I wasn't,
you should have done that already. It's quite a humbling experience. I spoke about this after the interview with Ben as well. We're in a really sort of privileged position to chat to, we saw him at Wembley Stadium, a huge band. And we're chatting to him having over breakfast. That's nuts to me.
Yeah. And what a nice guy. What a nice guy. And even like at the end, he gave us a little bit of advice as well, didn't he? You're probably going to cut it from the
I probably will,
interview. But he said, he gave some advice for the podcast. He said, keep it personal and that kind of thing, which was, it's just like a really, really nice guy,
Yeah, like Dave said earlier on, like, how did we get him on? Yeah, I just sent the guy an email and he, he doesn't have to do it. He's got fucking loads of other shit he could be doing. Do you know what I mean? I guess he just thought, why not? Bit like Ben, still really proud of what he achieved in that time. And probably still likes to talk about it, Why not?
Yeah.
I think I would.
Yeah. And I like the fact that he's still doing great stuff. So seriously, everyone, check out Man on Man. You won't be disappointed.
One thing I liked about him was he just seemed like sort of a super liberal guy. Like,
yes, yeah.
Like when you asked him to do an interview by email, just thought, okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, I think he is. I think that's him to a T.
He's not afraid to, do like loads of DIY stuff from like selling like, whatever, millions of albums with Faith No More. This Crickets record it's a hand stamped record. Limited to I don't know, probably a few hundred, right? But he's not afraid to do something like that, even though he's probably not getting any kind of financial gain from it whatsoever. But he's just keeping himself interested, doing interesting stuff, collaborating with cool people, and the fact that he's willing to do that, and even though he's not like the front person in that band, he's just playing the keyboards. And I just really like that about him, having that kind of like underground sensibility, even after being in one of the biggest bands in the world, and I think that's a really cool thing. Right.
So technical problem. We seem to have lost Luke, but we'd finished rambling anyway. So now's probably a good time to finish the podcast. Thanks for watching or listening, whichever medium you are using. Hope you enjoyed the interview with Roddy. Let us know in the comments. We're trying to build a bit of a community here, so if you can comment below, let us know what you thought about the interview. Give us any sort of Faith No More experiences that you might have. If you're watching on YouTube, then please do subscribe to the channel. Give it a thumbs up. All helps us get found so that we can bring this podcast to more people. If you're listening on one of the podcast platforms, then give it a review. Again, it helps other people find the podcast. If you're not already, then please do join our Facebook group. It's a lot of fun in there, and it'd be good to grow that community a little bit more. But that's it for the Faith No More episode. Please do join us next week. We'll see you then.